Hello and welcome back to the next chapter of our React crash course. In this part we will see how to make a form and we will manage state using useState. We will learn how React handles events and clarify what controlled and uncontrolled components are. And we will show a list of saved trips using map. So in the beginning, let's talk about useState. I would say that state is like memory for your component. It remembers information between renders, and useState is a hook that lets you declare a piece of state. So for example, we can write const city and useCity, and it equals useState. And for example, it can be empty in the beginning. Under the hood, using useState, React stores state values internally in a fiber tree, and it re-renders the component when setCity, for example, is called, and then it reruns the component with the new value. So imagine that, for example, your GPS remembers the last address you entered. Until you change it, it stores it. And you can see I made a typo. It should be, of course, setCity. So it's like a common declaration that you need always to use, for example, to name the values that you're going to use and change, and then you're going to use the same name but with a set. And you probably guessed already that useState returns two things: the current value of the state and the function to update that value. So React handles events using something called synthetic events, wrapper around native browser events. It usually uses kind of camel case declaration. So for example, all elements like inputs, buttons, etc. they have on click, on change, and then you just need to pass a function to these, so to speak, wrappers. Sometimes, in order to stop page reloads, you also need to add event prevent default. So yeah, when, for example, you click a button in an app that adds an item to a cart, that click is an event that updates the state. So let's continue writing for now. We also know that we need two more things for our app. It's year and description. So we are going just to copy all of them and change the names. By the way, there is also another approach to useState especially when you have, for example, a long form where you need to fill out many details, for example, name, surname, email, I don't know, address, and so on. Then it shouldn't be written like this. It should be kept as an object in one useState, and then you just need to update value key accordingly. But because we don't have a huge form and we don't have a huge app, that's why it's okay that we separate everything. Oh, and sorry, I of course made another mistake. I started using useState in our destination card, but it's only a UI component. Yeah, so we are going to change it and move import to our app. Yeah, that's much better. And then here we can of course already use the dynamic values, city, year, and description. And now we are going to build another component and call it form. So let's do it. And we will return form, which will have on submit function, and we are going to create it for now just an empty function, handle submit. We are going to style it a little bit later, and here we are going to create our inputs for our 3 main properties. And of course, the first one we are going to create with label city. So from the point of accessibility, there are actually a few approaches. And first one would be that we could wrap our input with label. It's okay. And then we wouldn't need, for example, ID. But I actually prefer this one. And then we need to use HTML4 and to use the ID of this input in order that label understands with what input it is connected. So as already as I was talking about it already, all these wrappers receive events. We are going to receive on change from our props. Of course, it should be in such brackets, and also on change event target value. And we are going to do it also to make this field be required. And actually now when I'm thinking about it, it would be easier to use just one state and change it using key value pair, especially when we know what it is going to be. So that's what we are going to do. Again, every approach is just depends on what you prefer. So you can do it separately, you can do it in one object, etc. And yeah, here we are going to import our form, and we are going to implement here const handle change. And what it is going to do, it is going to receive the name of the state. So for example, we can call it key, and we can call it a new value, for example. And that's how we are going to update state. And also one important note about updating the state based on previous state. So for example, we are going to update the object and not rewrite it. So that's why we need to use pref. In this case, we are not going just to write, for example, set state and here just write a value, but we are going to use a function which returns pref state, and we are going to return to make a copy of the pref state object and only change the key and the value connected to it. That's how you do it. Yeah, I think I missed one bracket. So yeah, and now we can send this this function to our props to form. Okay, now in the form, when we are going to do on change, we are not going just to send iterget values, so we are going also to send a key, and in this case it is city. Okay, the first pair is ready. Let's just copy it and create next pairs. I'm going also to make it more readable. So and we are going to call it now year. And also we'll make it more readable, and we are going to copy it one more time and use it for destination, but we are going to use text area for description. Also, let's say that here is its type is going to be number, because we don't want to accept something that can be year. Of course, you can add more validation logic, like for example what minimum or maximum year could be, but we for now will continue in this way. And yeah, we need also some sort of button. And we'll write something like submit, or I don't know, plan trip. And we also need to type submit. Okay, that's pretty it. Let's now implement submit. First thing that we need to do is what I already told you about. It is we need to prevent default. For now we don't have any, so to speak, logic connected to backend or API and everything, so we are going to manage everything only in our, for now, local state. First of all, we need to receive updated state, and we are going to create a new trip from this. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, and there is no need to have all your state logic that is only connected to form in the app in a parent component. So we are going actually to grab it and put it into form, because all you need to do is just to update the state, and then you're going to send it to the backend or somewhere, and you're going to use in other components everything already that you receive from backend. So I mean, for example, in our case, it's the list of the trips or places we want to go. So that's why all this temporary information is actually, it makes no sense to keep it somewhere else except for this form. So that's what we are going to do. And we are going to use here also handle change, and handle change. So yeah, now it's even clearer. And now we are going to create a new trip. We are going to create it from, actually let's just call it a new trip already. And that's it, because we have there all our information and everything. And here we also, what we forgot about value. So value is going to be new trip city. Here is going to be new trip year. And here it's going to be description value, new trip description. Yeah, now it's much better. And now when we want to submit a form, what we actually want, we want to create a new destination or add a new destination to our destinations list. So actually that's what we want to keep in our app for now. We are going to create a list of destinations. Yeah, and it's going to be an array. And here we are not going to send on change, we are going to send on submit. And here we are going to create a function that handles submit. So again, if it would be already done with some API call, we would also do it actually only in our form component, and in most cases you don't need to do it in some parent components, or if you already used Redux Toolkit or any other state management libraries, and we also would do it in the store, but not in the component. But for now, that's what we have. So we are going to do it here. And here we're going to receive a new trip. And here we are going to update state the way that I already told you. So for example, we are going to do it as using pref state, and we are going to return a new array where we are going to copy all the pref state, and we're going to add a new trip. In order to write some better logic, we also at some point we will need to validate our trips, for example, to check maybe, like in the real apps when you work with some lists and everything, then of course you have IDs, and first thing that you would do, and usually it's done on backend, you would check if such trip, for example, exists already. But we will consider that in our app every trip is unique, and you are not going to create 10 same trips. And eventually we are going to send this handle submit to on submit. We're going to receive it here. And here we are going to call it send new trip to Z. The next step, what we are going to do is to render our destinations. We are going to create a new file and call it destinations list, for example. And yeah, we are going to create it. And we are going to return an unordered list, and there should be list item, but first of all let's receive destinations, and we want here to map them. We're going to call destinations map, and we are going to return destination card. And in order to be actually, let's do that's it. That's what it should look like. And here, instead of destination card, we are going to import destination list and send here our destinations. Yeah, and here we can already delete destination card. Sorry, I forgot to wrap it into list item, because it's also important for accessibility that everything that can be done as a list should be done as list, and it should be wrapped into list item and unordered list. One more thing, in order for React to understand and work faster and to understand which part of the tree was actually changed, that's actually the point of React, how it works and the way that it can really fast find where the change was made and update it. For that we need to tell him where and what changed, and for that we need to pass also key, especially when we have lists of objects that are the same. And because of it, key also should be unique. So for example, now you see we are using index, and that's bad practice. Never use only index. Usually you need to use ID. So for example, better way it would be to use, let's say, city plus index. That's already better option. React uses the key to optimize re-renders in order not to re-render the entire list every time. You can think of it like a luggage tag on each trip. It helps React to track which bag belongs to which destination. So yeah, now let's return to forum and let's talk a little bit about controlled and uncontrolled components. So here you see that we use value, and we kind of have an opportunity to change it. And also, for example, we can take a new value and do some calculations or some changes if we need to change something else in our app. So we have control of the value in our inputs, and because of it, this input is controlled. There could be another option. We could not use all this on change and value. We could just use ref, and instead of it use ref hook, and then we wouldn't have control over the value of this input, and then only DOM would manage it. So usually why controlled inputs are better? They are better because that's how you can validate your form, or you can use it for some dynamic UI changes or for syncing data. Maybe the easiest example would be when you type into Google Docs, so you see the real-time updates and you have control over it, you can change it, you can manipulate it. And for example, uncontrolled input is like writing on paper. You can just write once and that's it. And also in the destination list, this is called dynamic list, and you can already see, and maybe you also already understood, thanks to it, we kind of store each trip in the destinations array using useState and then use JavaScript's map method to turn each item into a React element. Each time the state changes, like when a new trip is added, React re-renders the list with the updated values. So now let's check what we actually created, and let's hope that everything works. So yeah, you can see that here we have our form and our button. Yeah, it looks for now kind of horrible because I didn't add any styles. Let's go to, I don't know, something like this, and let's just write something like hello, and let's plan trip. And here we see our destination card. So of course I'm going to spend now a little bit time in order to style it in a better way, and I will be back to you. So that's the final version with styles that I created. I also removed some styles from index CSS, so of course you can style it as you wish. And also I noticed that we don't clear state. That would be also great to do, because for now we just add trip, but we then have all the values still saved in inputs. So now we'll see how we do it. So we go back to our form, and for example, after submit, we will do set new trip. So let's do it in a better way. Let's create a const initial state, and we'll put all this initial data there. And then we are going to edit here, and also when we submit the form and everything is okay, then it should be set to initial state back. In a normal big app, we have this initial state in the store usually, and of course the form is set to the initial state only after everything, when there were no errors, for example, and everything was fine. Because also, for example, if you do some kind of form validation and user didn't fill out something in the right way, for example, I don't know, email address was incorrect or something, then of course you shouldn't set form state to the initial state before he has at least an opportunity to fix everything he filled up in the wrong way, because otherwise it wouldn't be accessible. So let's try again. Let's go this time to Berlin, and 2008, for example, drink beer. And yeah, so we have the second one, and you can see that we have now nothing in our form. So that's it for today. We learned what useState is, that it keeps all memory for inputs or other values for UI. It returns a value and updater function. If you're updating based on previous state, you need to use a callback. In React, we mostly use controlled inputs. Events are handled through synthetic event, and map lets us render dynamic lists. So in part 4, we are going to explore the useEffect hook, how and when it runs, what dependency arrays do, and how to fetch data from an API. Thank you for watching and participating in my crash course. Give this video a thumbs up, it really helps my channel, and I see you in the next part. Cheers!